Leon Bridges, bet ain't worth the hand. This happened again. Another unarmed black man shot by the police in East Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The police officer that shot him had been sworn in 90 minutes before he killed an unarmed black man. Now, in Pennsylvania, a police officer can use lethal force if he's chasing someone that has used lethal force or has threatened to. This man had been on the police department 90 minutes, and he's already killing somebody, right? He kills a young black man named Antoine Rose, honest student, unarmed. Here's my problem with this. We know that there are times that policemen have to use lethal force. We know that there are times that things don't work out the way they're supposed to. But there seems to be a disturbing pattern in the United States of America where oftentimes policemen will shoot first, then ask questions later. My only question is this. How come we see so many times when we see a disturbed white guy, whether it is the cat that shot up the church in Charleston or Houston or any other mass shooting, and they get to go home? Why is it that a black man suspected of having a gun is more lethal in police officers' mind or more dangerous in police officers' mind than a white guy who you know has one and has used it? If you could take a man to Burger King and you know he's killed 9 people, you can take a man to jail if you suspect him of doing something. The problem is there is no level of accountability. Now, it has been ruled a homicide. We can't get in the officer's mind. I can't say this. It is disturbing that you put people who are so inexperienced in areas that you know they're going to run into problems. 90 minutes you on the job. I don't care what job you have. If you make a mistake like that in 90 minutes in any job, you automatically don't pass probation. Why are they putting people like that, the least experienced, in the areas where they're going to run into the most trouble? Why is it that policemen are so adept at arresting mass murderers, but not adept at arresting unarmed black men who are suspected of a crime? Well, why did he run? If he didn't have anything to run, why did he run? I just wrote a book about this. I wrote a book called How Not to Get Shot and Other Advice from White People, because a common refrain is, why did he run? Why is he acting guilty if he didn't do anything wrong? Why is the president acting guilty if he didn't do anything wrong? You don't get to vacillate. If that boy did something wrong, he should be bound over for trial and go to jail. The only way you should be able to use lethal force is if you've seen it with your own eyes be used, or somebody else is in danger. Anything else, you should lose your job and your freedom when you take somebody's life. It happened in Dallas, Texas. A little boy, 15-year-old boy at a party, a policeman shoots him while he drives away and says, "I was fearing for my life." That should stop working. It's the oldest book in the world. If you are that afraid and you want to wear a uniform, instead of a cop, try working for UPS. It's ridiculous. We're tired and sick and tired of seeing young black men and black women being brutalized and shot down and nobody being brought to account. I can't tell you what happened. I don't know what was there. But I know this is a far too familiar pattern. If you are that afraid of black people, stay out of their areas. Stop. Don't be a cop. Do something else. You cannot keep slaughtering people and not have anybody have a reaction to it. You should know. When you use lethal force, you should know it. You should know what you're using it for. You shouldn't guess. I can't get into your mind. I can see the circumstances. A little boy, a young man, black man just got shot. They thought he had a phone. He shouldn't be dead. Why did he run? Because maybe he seen what happened to people. Maybe he saw the little 10-year-old boy got handcuffed and peed on himself. Maybe he sees what happens to people, or Philando Castile, who had a legal register and he got killed. Maybe he believes that any interaction with the policeman and you're a young black man could result in your death, and it did. You're on a job for 90 minutes. You are not equipped to do that. If you're on a job 90 minutes and you already murdered somebody before lunch, you are not equipped to do that job, and you shouldn't be hired. What is this about? Why is America so unruffled with this, undisturbed when something like this happens? He is dead, and that people are going to make all kinds of excuses. All anybody wants is the same accountability you ask for us. You should only be able to use force if you know that somebody has a gun. If you can arrest a mass murderer, you can arrest a suspected drive-by shooter. You can do that. It takes 6 months to be a police officer. It takes 12 months to be a cosmetologist on average. I guess shooting a black man is probably a lot easier than cutting his hair.
Large crowds of protesters blocked streets in East Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania yesterday, calling for change after an officer shot and killed an unarmed 17-year-old. Cell phone video appears to show Antoine Rose Jr. running from police on Tuesday night. 3 gunshots can be heard. Police say the video might not tell the whole story. Susan Copen of our Pittsburgh station KDKA is at East Pittsburgh Police Headquarters. Susan, good morning.
Good morning. This area was filled with demonstrators yesterday. The police officer involved in the shooting has not been identified, but we do know that he was new to the force and had just been sworn in. People in this community are outraged and looking for answers.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Protesters filled the streets, at one point blocking a law enforcement vehicle. They're demanding answers in Tuesday night's fatal police shooting of Antoine Rose Jr., captured on cell phone video.
Why are they shooting at him?
Rose is seen in a light-colored T-shirt and appears to be running away from police. Rose was shot 3 times and died at a local hospital.
Still doesn't even feel real that he's gone.
Allegheny County Police Superintendent Coleman McDonough.
I understand in today's atmosphere, anytime a young man is killed, there's cause for outrage in some areas.
McDonough says the officer involved has been placed on administrative leave as they conduct an independent investigation.
I would urge people to give us time to conduct an objective investigation to gather facts.
McDonough says the vehicle Rose was in matched a car involved in a nearby drive-by shooting. One person in the car was detained and later released, and police say they found 2 firearms in the vehicle. But Rose was unarmed as he and another suspect ran away and the officer opened fire. Rose's uncle says he sees rage growing in his community amid reports the officer had just joined the force.
The police officers, I know they got a very hard job and everything, but you know what? You got to be fit for the job.
Superintendent McDonough says the police officers involved did not have body cameras and there were no cameras in the police cars to capture this incident. There is another protest planned for later today, and that 3rd suspect who fled from police is still on the loose. Gail?
Thank you, Susan. It's another upsetting story. I know they said, the video doesn't tell the whole story, but what we're seeing on the video is very disturbing, so I hope they tell the rest of it soon. And I think it's important to point out the officer charged with the shooting. He was new on that force, but he had worked, he was a veteran officer. He'd worked at other departments for 8 years, so I think it's important to point that out.
Yeah.
He was not a rookie on the job. Very upsetting story.